to the extent that we have solidarity and organization and some degree of focused purpose, we can really do some good of this. And I can't really say what will happen to Margot. As I said, I regret not knowing her except for this brief contact, but I certainly wish her the best. Her case has every ring of injustice to it that sort of like a complete compendium of all the sorts of injustices, the slings and arrows that a person can experience in this hard and cruel world. So I send her my best wishes and solidarities and hopes for the future. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Norman, do we still have you?
Excuse me?
Yeah. Norman, can you make your statement or read your links?
I'm not getting a clear transmission.
I hear Norman very well.
And I hear Joe well, but I don't hear the program well.
Oh dear.
Well, we can hear him well.
Hello?
Norman, can you go ahead and make your statement, please?
Tell him we can hear him.
Excuse me?
We can hear you very well on this end.
Okay. First of all, I regret not being there. I've had a very rough speaking schedule the past month, and the sort of boarding a bus or a plane at this point filled me with dread. But I have a deep sense of commitment and solidarity with Margot. I met her a little less than a year ago, last summer, and I tend to be skeptical when people claim that their tenure cases were handled prejudicially, because everybody obviously has a personal interest or stake in claiming that a tenure denial had been unfair. So I did take the time to read through Margot's case and learn to the best of my ability the major and minor facts in her case. And I walked away, having examined the record, convinced that certainly things had gone seriously awry in her case. Obviously, a tenure committee is the best place to render judgments, but there are some basic facts about tenure which, juxtaposed against Margot's case, throw a dark light on what happened to her. Number one, as most people in the room surely know, tenure is a protracted process, usually taking either 6 or 7 years to acquire. And one of the safeguards of the tenure process is what's called an annual review, whereby the tenure candidate is alerted as to where he or she is on course and where he or she falls short in meeting the tenure criteria, so that by the time you come to the last year of tenure, the do or die year, you should have a pretty good sense on whether or not you're going to get tenure. No certainty, of course, but there should be a fairly clear sense that this tenure candidacy is on track or it isn't. In the case of Margot, there really was no indication that she was not on course to get tenure. If you look at her annual reviews, they all seem to speak overwhelmingly in a positive manner about her record in terms of the criteria she laid out at the beginning of her own presentation, namely in terms of teaching, publication, and service. And so she had every good reason to expect, as I said, there's no certainty, but every good reason to expect that her tenure candidacy would have a positive outcome. And of course, that's not what happened. And what suddenly happened in that last year was, so far as I can know, one major factor or one major development. Namely, she was being denied tenure, but it was a kind of moving target. First, she was denied, or seemed to be on the verge of being denied tenure on account of her publications record. And so Margot moved quickly and efficaciously to remedy what was said to be a deficit in her candidacy, namely her publications record. And when she remedied that purported deficit, she was then suddenly told, no, it's not your publications record that's the problem, it's your teaching record that's the problem. And so it became a kind of shell game, whereby each time she met one criterion, they would suddenly switch and say, no, you didn't meet this criterion. And it became impossible for Margot to meet the criteria of tenure because the target, as it were, kept shifting. That, to me, is clear evidence of bad faith on the part of Ithaca College. In addition, there were a large number of what you would call, I suppose, professional improprieties, which Margot again reviewed in the course of her presentation, which does raise serious questions about the professionalism of the people in the department. This is not a matter of being overly politically correct or being prudish or old-fashioned. Margot, after all, is a married woman. She's a mother of two sons, if my memory is correct, or two sons and a daughter, I can't now recall.
One son and one daughter.
You know, she's a married woman and a mother of several children. And she's also in a vulnerable position as a third world woman. And there were certainly carryings on in the department which were